I think one of the big things where when you when you first joined the program, you were on every group call. You were always in the community, right? And you were going through the course. You were applying it. You were showing up to the calls. You were asking Scott and I questions, and then there was like this like we could see it like this snowball effect happening in your life and in your business, and then it just kind of popped. And that's why I'm so stoked to catch up with you on the podcast today, just to hear about all the things that have just been happening in your life. And yeah, it's what would you say is like some of the big wins for you recently?
Um, well, it would be the uptick in business. I think some of the major things have been honestly is understanding my value and being okay with charging what's more appropriate. That in my field as a healthcare practitioner, man, it still is a struggle to 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 price things out because like I'm asking for money and I understand you need help and like that's not the dynamic I want to be in when helping people. But I need the money to pay for the tech that is providing the diagnostics and some of the therapy that we're getting. I have to pay for the consultation fees for the professionals that I am uh, engaging with to provide exceptional services. And so for me, honestly, I feel like in this month, it's been that shift of, hey, if you sit down and price out everything and you were to nickel and dime these people, you'd be charging twice as much as you are. So it's okay to actually charge more than what you have been because there is a huge benefit and value in the services. And so you just have to get paid, closer to what is actually being provided in as far as worth. So that's been a huge win for me.
Yeah, yeah, because there's like the fact that I mean this month you said you did excuse me 13K, which is epic. But the you're talking more about almost the psychological side effect of that is that I've actually improved my self worth, like my confidence, the knowingness of the value that I provide. And then the flip side of that, the other side of the coin is like you've raised your prices, people are getting awesome results, but your business is growing at the same time.
Yeah. And it's yeah, the 13K this month is less of a thing I think about because I know all the money that already went into it. Like I just put the security deposit and first month's rent down for a new location, and that was 10,000. So it's like, yay! I was able to make back most of the money that went out this month. Um, but the confidence or the comfort level, the sense of well being or happiness that wasn't impacted by asking for the higher prices or for charging them is itself more important to me than the number I hit because that's been a stumbling block for the entire business the entire time.
When I oh and how so? Like how has it been a stumbling block for the business? I was going to ask you a different question, but you just said that, and I'd like to just kind of hear your thoughts before we move on.
Um, because I want to have pricing that I think or feel allows everyone to come. And so when I raise prices or I have a certain price point on services, I know it means certain people might be getting priced out. Certain people can't come. So I've kept prices low. I've This is the first time I've increased prices in 4 years. Like I've not kept up my own wages or my prices with inflation whatsoever, because I want to make sure that people have access to me. But at this point, the amount of time that's going into things and the more comprehensive my services are becoming, I just have to. And I still didn't for the last 4 or 5 months. So, it's been this like evolution of my comfort in understanding, hey, there will be other ways I'll be able to serve those people at some point, but I have to be earning the money that I should be earning now so that I don't stagnate and I don't lose the business. Doors need to keep opening, not closing, for me to help people.
Yeah, I love that. And when I walked through your door, it was like, what was that now? Over a year ago. Wow, that went by so
Just about,
fast.
I think. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, for to anyone who's listening right now, I was living in Hawaii at the time. I was still trying to recover from a Bigfoot injury. I had found you on Google, and I was like, who is this guy? But he works with athletes, and I have an identity of an athlete, so
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I got to go see this guy. And we did 3 sessions before I left. And yeah, I mean, I've worked with hundreds of bodywork people at 31 years old, and you are at the cream of the crop. You're an amazing, amazing professional. But the Jack that I'm talking to right now is a different Jack. It's a
Yeah.
totally different Jack. What would you say the difference is between when I first walked into that office and met you that first day to the guy that I'm talking to now? Like, what's been the difference between those two characters?
Um, there's much. I'm not as overwhelmed. There was a sense of like pressure or overwhelm, potentially even like anxiety or anxiousness. I think in trying to balance my work life, which is something we had talked about, right? It's like uh, there was a poor harmony between business and life, and it was having a huge impact on my ability to just be, whether it be at home or at work. And that was the huge difference now is I'm I don't feel as though I'm shifting from like a work jack and a life jack or a clinical jack and outside of the clinic jack. I am more myself all the time, honestly, I think.
Yeah, and you seem so much more at ease, like just very much like at ease. I remember that when I first walked into your office, because I was going to get dry needling, and there was like kind of a whole story behind that, which we won't go into, but just very like conversations were very just like almost like you were expecting me to like have a reaction when you were saying, hey, we're not going to do dry needling. I think we kind of need to go this route, and I was like, yeah, man, all good. And I could just
Yeah.
sense it. I could literally feel the energy from you that like, oh man, this guy is going through maybe a challenging time in the biz or life or whatever, but he's just stressed. And
Hmm.
and then we just talked. We just talked like humans in that office, and now I can consider you a good friend. And yeah, it now I just see you on this interview right now, and I'm just like, yeah, man, you just seem so chill.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, all the things I described that I was feeling, it was adding up to stress. It was being expressed as stress, and it was visible to others. And I think what you and I ended up experiencing during our sessions together when we were just chatting, getting to know each other, and I was at ease with you. Um, that is how things are most of the time now. I'm not. I don't have any expectations or preconceived notions about what the person may be expecting or wanting. I'm more comfortable with providing my professional opinion and saying, this is what I'm seeing, these are what the exams tell us and show us, um, and this is my opinion. I can help you this way or this way. If neither of those sounds appropriate or you're not sure about it, that's cool. You can pay me for the assessment and you can go home. I can refer you to someone else that you might feel more comfortable with. So I feel more grounded in my practice, I think, honestly. I don't and some of that just comes from the time and the experience, but a lot of it comes down to knowing what I'm working towards, knowing what my goal is, and understanding that um, me being comfortable and confident in that and following the path towards it actually encourages or not inspires, but it creates confidence in the patients, in me, and about what I'm able to provide and what I'm sharing and discussing with them.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. That's amazing. What have been like the biggest principles for you that you've taken away since joining Peak that have kind of led to the results that you're having now? Are there any like key principles that you really fall back to and say that was really life changing for me?
Yeah, I think you know the answer already. And I go down to the formula every time. It's the programming, thought, emotion, action, and just thinking about that and walking my dogs, I would sit there and wonder, why do I have that emotion right now? Why am I doing this? In everything I was doing in life for the first few months in the program, I just kept going back to that and thinking to myself, why did I take that action? Or Why do I have this emotion? What was the thought? And I would backtrack myself, and then I'd play around with the thoughts. Like, well, is that thought actually me? Like that, a lot of the thoughts I had, it actually isn't what I would say was Jack. Like they have no bearing on my true experience or beliefs in life. So why are they there, and why are they controlling my emotions? And I was then you take that final step backwards to the programming. It's like, okay, probably because there's some experience in life. There's someone that said something. There was some circumstance that led me to think that this was supposed to be the way I'm emoting and acting. And I said, fuck it. And I got to keep that in mind, but that is the most important and probably most helpful or powerful thing from the program for me. 100%. I say it every time.
You do say it every time, and I was just curious because you were talking about the vision and the goal, and I was thinking, oh, well, maybe now because you do have this incredible vision for acupuncture, which we're going to talk about in just a sec. But yeah, I love how you fall back to that, and yeah, that algorithm of really just the way that humans work is so life changing. It is really so life changing, and I love how you said that these thoughts are not actually me. And when you really evaluated them, when you took a second and stepped away from the emotion and looked at it as an observer, you're like, wow, there's no way that this is actually me. And that
Yeah.
like frees you. And I love how you also said, well, fuck it. And for the listeners, you can hear that and say, oh no, they're just goofing around. No, literally, one of the biggest superpowers when you're dealing with some of these like internal obstacles is to actually just say fuck it, because it's breaking that emotional attachment that we have to the moment, which kind of like builds up. So thanks for
100%.
thanks for sharing that, Jack.
Even like to put it in different terms, because I really do think that's such an important key thing about how we operate, how the human experience is dictated by things outside of that own person's thoughts and beliefs. Is we were watching Ozark season 2, no spoilers, last night, and at one point, um, the main protagonist said to a character, he said, at one point you chose to believe in God. Why not choose to believe in us? And I thought to myself, like, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about making the choice to accept or believe certain things to be true and then acting as such. That's all everything is in the end.
That is profound that you just shared that. That is so profound. I'm reading a book right now. It's called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. Amazing book. And he says that beliefs aren't necessarily true or false. Like he talks about people who are wealthy, and then right, and he's saying obviously the goal of the book is to create financial freedom. He goes, rich people just have different beliefs, right? And we are free to actually believe whatever we want. The only reason beliefs exist is because something got passed around from generation to generation, or a lot of people said it, or you saw it, or experienced it, so you believe something to be true. So if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, don't don't worry about trying to do all these manipulate all these different things. Just start to evaluate and choose different beliefs that actually are going to support your happiness and success. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
100%. I can see certain choices I have made previously or choices I'm about to make. And I can almost pinpoint now which adult in my life is like leading me towards that thing. And I catch it and think, well, that's actually not something that's going to serve me. That doesn't help me reach the goal. And that's not even what I actually think if I take a second to actually consider the circumstances. And I've got to then choose to make a new choice. And the only difficulty now at this point is understanding what my other choices might be. What are the other options? What are the alternatives I could be choosing? Because I'm not aware of them. I didn't come from a family that had any business owners or were successful in any way or not living just below the poverty line. So I'm like having to make all these additional changes and learn what those possible options are. And it, you know, uh, we talked about Rich Dad Poor Dad in some of our calls in the end, and I ended up having Robert Kiyosaki as a patient. He was referred to me by the doctor I work with, which in itself was pretty crazy, right? Um, But what Robert told me at the end of one of our sessions when I asked him, like, what advice would you have for me? And he said, you create the culture of your dojo. And I kind of take that not just for my business, but to other things. It's like, if I can take that to mean anything I want. And what I take it to mean is, in the end, I get to, I dictate what my business is. I dictate what the culture of my practice is. I am in control here. And if I understand that and then make the choices that vibe with me, that feel right to me, then I will be successful on all the metrics that I find important. And that's in itself also really helpful to keep in mind. Like, I'm going to just do what I think is best because I can trust myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful and really powerful. And it's so interesting too because if you just zoom out a year ago, again, you described like the different Jack that I had met. I think you told me this. I could be wrong, but were you when you were at that point of just kind of like stress, kind of struggle, confusion, were you thinking that, hey, I don't know if my business is gonna make it here? Were you questioning kind of the longevity of acupuncture?
No, no, I knew. What I think was the issue really was, man, I have such great potential and I am not tapping into it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, how do I scale this thing that is so obviously hitting most of the right marks? Like, where am I failing here? That was part of it. There was no question about what acupuncture was or could be. I think I underestimated actually um, what it could be, if anything. But no, there's no question about the business itself. It was more about how do I run business and clinic, because in the end, this still is about healthcare for me. This is about helping people. I don't care about the
Yep.
money. I have to stay in business well enough to take care of my family and meet my obligations to them and what I feel is right as far as our form of lifestyle or our level of lifestyle.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so it was more about, yeah, I know that this thing that I'm working on can be huge. What are these blocks that I keep experiencing? And it was, what was it? This internal roadblocks essentially.
Yeah, 100%.
Right
And I
on.
and I knew it was because before I worked on the program, I had looked into another program and I'd done a couple of calls with them, and under in discussing things with them, I understood what some of the obstacles were, but something about that didn't speak to me, and I just let those things sit. And then later on, I met you and we had our calls, and I was like, some of this is paralleling what I liked about the other programs, and something else is speaking to me a bit, is speaking to me more.
What was it, by the way? I'm actually really curious. You were evaluating another program, and then you were also looking at Peak. Me and you had done a few calls. What was it about ours that stuck out to you, and why you said yes?
Part of it, I think, more had to do with you. I knew you a little bit. I trusted you. You knew me. You had a better understanding of where I was, and so it was going to be an easier thing for me to transition into. And with you knowing what my needs were and feeling as though you could help, I could trust that a bit better. Um, but also the reason in the end is because the program wasn't focused on business. It was something that I understood would help me in business, but that's because it was going to help me, and that was what stood out to me. That was the key difference, really. That and the price point, to be honest.
The other, yeah, yeah, the other program that you were evaluating was that business strategy.
Um, it focused it focused a lot more on business strategies and building out a clinic and things like that, while including some of the things we discussed, like understanding that some of your personal roadblocks are the things that are preventing you from being successful in business. But my business is going to be strong, but I need to be stronger for it to be strong. And so I felt like I would get that from Peak Prosper. The foundation of Jack was going to be stronger. Um, than had I gone to the other thing. Because the other thing might have actually stressed me out more. Like, yeah, the business is doing great, but I'm still flailing. That wouldn't have been as helpful.
What you're talking about right now is one of the things that Scott and I really try to really try to share with our listeners and guys who are interested in peak. We are in a world where, again, we talk about the programming and conditioning for entrepreneurs, that everyone thinks that their problem is, I need better, marketing systems. I need better sales. I need better website. I need to do this, and I need this business strategy. I need to YouTube and all this crazy stuff. And the thing that we heard a long time ago that always stuck with me is people don't have business problems. They have personal problems that reflect in the business. And so a lot of the guys that I see, they're having mindset blocks. It's internal blocks, and I think that's the power of a coach who can really show you, hey, you just said this to me, and then kind of have you run through that and really figure out, hey, where's this? What is actually the internal block here, and let's remove it. And then since you've done that, you've gone on to do what? Now this is your fourth month over 10K, or is that your fifth month? And that now you're. I want to
I,
also.
I don't, yeah, I don't know exactly because while I have the numbers down in my sheets, my calendars and documents, I don't think about it that way all that often. But what I can say is I'm already trending to at least double last year.
It's epic.
Yeah.
And do you want to, Jack? Do you want to share a little bit about the vision that you've got now for Acupuncture? Because I think this is really the bread and butter of. I mean, this is why we're here, right? I mean, I would love for you to share that if you can.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Honestly, when I think about it, there's I think a level of aspiration or size that I would not even consider to be remotely possible. But now, because of my MTV, like this still seems like I could be going bigger. But the idea is, um, in the last year in particular, I've been doing a lot of work in brain health, and I've been working with a clinic here that's provided me with some really exceptional software relating to EEGs and reading brain activity. And using that brain activity, I've been able to establish um, improvements in my patient's brain health, whether it be from concussion, dementia, functional issues. And it has shown me that my tools are the most optimal for helping human health from brain to toe. Because you saw me for orthopedics. I can do the orthopedics. We can get muscles functioning better. We can get nerves healing themselves. And now I've seen I can work on the central nervous system, the brain. And so Acupuncture is expanding into treating post-concussion and brain health issues. And as that side of the clinic grows, I'm going to build out an institute where I train other acupuncturists, first in the orthopedic work that I do, because here on Oahu, we don't have a lot of practitioners that treat the way I do. In fact, I only have 4 other colleagues who have done any of the training that I have done. So we have 714 active practitioners, only 5 total, who are able to provide services of my kind, and probably not at the same level. Then when we add in this central nervous system brain component, I'm able to significantly change the lives of everyone. And that's what I'm hoping to do. So I'm going to train acupuncturists in my region in the Acupuncture Institute to help with getting those kinds of services to athletes and all humans. But then once that is settled, I'm going to be able to branch into my community and help my community of fighters more. And the hope there is to create a gym that focuses on neuro rehab and being a place to help them when they are in need of continuing to sharpen their skills but not get their brain bashed in, to provide a safe place to train as well. So it's Acupuncture Institute to train acupuncturists and maybe allow them to branch into brain health if they want, and then putting together this, what I'm calling the Brain Trust Gym, to help the athletes from my fighting background to rehab and improve in all aspects of their sport.
It's incredible. The vision. I remember like in the first couple calls when you started to formulate this vision and say, well, and then things just started to like cascade for you. It was like a couple month period where it was just and then you started getting Robert Kiyosaki as a client, and I was like, all right, this is just out of control. Which, if people haven't read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, I mean, that's foundational. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm incredibly stoked for you, and now this vision that you've got and that you're building out on is going to allow you to help how many people? Because one of the biggest issues for people that do like acupuncture, massage, chiro is that it limits in a way the number of people that you can help. But now you've got this thing. How does that like 10x, 20x, 50x your impact or what?
I man, I might sound ridiculous in saying this, but I don't think we can even really compute or calculate that because in the way that I the way in which people are changing and their lives are changing, their internal experience is changing, every single person they are interacting with now is actually leaving that interaction better. So it's some exponent we probably couldn't quite grasp. My dementia patient, for example, every single person in his family now is having a better relationship with him. They're feeling closer to him, and he's feeling closer to them. So that right there's 15 people at least I can literally think of that I've heard from or that he told me has told him how things have changed just in 2 months of working with me. And so that's got to be the case for every other person I've helped so far. So in treating like 6 or 7 brains, I've probably touched 200 people at least in making the way their lives have been better, including if it's just like the barista. When he goes in, he's not as frustrated if they're late and behind. He's probably still chill with them and like maybe helps their day be a bit better. So that person's life is now not as bad because he himself is feeling just that much better. And I think
I can
that's
attest
the
to the
promise of
power of
this
that.
medicine.
Yeah, I can attest to the power of that, and just purely based on how much of an emotional lift I got from working with you, and then that affected my peak prosper, right, which led to growth, which led to new ideas, which led to clients getting better results, and that's I think that just the power of your work. And I'm also just going to cycle it back to not just peak prosper, but mindset work in general, where when you show up happier, your business grows, but you also impact a ton of other people. So hell yeah, man. I'm so fortunate that you joined Peak, you trusted us, and yeah, dude. I mean, this is still I still think it's the beginning for you in so many ways. I can just see Acupuncture, what you're building out, being massive, and I look forward to coming back to Hawaii and getting some more work done with you, dude.
I'm looking forward to it. I because I know the work you're doing. Like I am excited to see what kind of success you're able to create for yourself, but everyone else who's in the group, because the two together, honestly, the two together, a more functional brain that I'm able to provide in a unique way, and the mindset, the goal, and the belief in self that you're able to help people really evolve or inspire in themselves, that plant that seed, it's going to change lives 100%. And I feel like the medicine that I'm providing here is going to change society, and that's why I need it to grow. That's why I'm pushing to make sure I get paid right, because the only thing I'm doing with that money is putting it back into my education, putting it back into bigger spaces so I can touch more people, so I can help more people. Yeah.
We know what you mean, bro. We know what you mean, and that's it. You're just cycling. Yeah, man. You have such a. It's obvious in our program for our listeners we call it the North Star. Like your guiding emotion behind your vision. You can tell it's just like It's like coming out of you, and it's so authentic how much you really want to help people. I mean, it's just palpable. Even when the first day I was in your office, you genuinely care, and yeah, man, you're just gonna get everything that you want out of life. So I'm really Scott and I are in the community here. We're just so happy for you, dude.
Thank you. I know we're wrapping it up here, but I want to say the North Star work, especially the 7 questions why, that was another thing that sticks with me, because asking yourself like, well, why do I want that? And then breaking it down to, well, why is that? Why? And it is what led me to understand like why I'm doing what I want to do, and or why I'm doing what I do and what's driving that. And it was inspiring or helpful for me to see, hey man, like I have good intentions here all the way down. Like I'm answering these questions for myself, and I'm happy with the answers I'm seeing here, and that's important. That was very cool. That was another helpful aspect of the program for sure.
Right on. And just a final question: if there's a guy on listening to this podcast right now that's really just he resonates with your story and he says, "Yeah, I'm very similar to where I'm at right now," would you recommend Peak Prosper to help him out?
Yeah, of course. I think everyone will find something that benefits them within the program that they would be struggling to find anywhere else. There's so much that gets covered that you're going to be helping so many different people from so many different backgrounds. So anyone that hears this or anyone that is struggling that thinks, man, what would be different about that program? It's like you got to try to find out because there will be something. The only reason you're unaware of what it could be is because you're unaware of what it could be. You haven't experienced it yet. You haven't learned it. You haven't heard it. You just got to be open to it. So yeah, I'd recommend it. 100%.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Such a. I feel so inspired after this podcast. I'm not kidding. I'm not just saying that for dramatic effect. Really, I feel so inspired, dude. And I thank you for everything you've done, Jack. I thank you for being a part of Peak, and you're inspiring me now. So thanks, brother. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mike. You're the reason I'm here.
You got you got it, man. All right, Jack. Thank you so much. Hope the listeners got a lot of benefit from this, and we'll see you on the next episode.
All right, brother. Be well.